Do you have any idea how crazy you are?
You mean the nature of this conversation?
I mean the nature of you.
The movie begins talking about what it means to be a sheriff in the town, doing it for passion and walking in the paths of those who did it for the same reason, sometimes even without carrying a weapon. But the crimes witnessed in his time are so bizarre and uncalled for, some without reason or logic. As the voice fades, the policeman leads the handcuffed man into his car. At the station, the cop is making a call when the man in cuffs grabs him from behind and begins strangling him. The officer tries to fight his way out, but the grip is too strong, and after a while, he gives up the ghost. After picking up a gas cylinder and a hose, he hits the road with a police car and pulls a motorist over. The man stops, and as standard police procedure, Anton asks him to step out. When he does, he points the hose at his forehead and shoots something into him, causing him to bleed out and die on the spot. Llewellyn Moss stays at a vantage point, aims at an animal, and shoots but misses the target. As he gets closer, he sees blood, and when he looks deeper, a dog is struggling to race across the field. As he makes his way down, he sees some cars and a few dead bodies on the ground, heavy bloodstains on them and guns beside them while their cars are riddled with bullets. One man is barely alive, dying of thirst, and when he sees Llewellyn, he pleads for water, but there is none at the moment. Llewellyn takes his ammo, then circles to the back of the truck and finds loads of wrapped packages, but he does nothing with them. He just reiterates his stance of having no water, then walks off. As if he's trailing, he stops at a point, looks at a tree with his binoculars, and finds something. He goes closer and sees a dead body lying lifeless with a bullet wound. He first retrieves the gun on the corpse and opens the briefcase to find a lot of cash inside. He sighs, then picks it up, enters his truck, and drives back into the city. He gets home, but first stashes the gun he retrieved in a hidden place before entering the main house and meeting Carla, who questions his whereabouts, how he got the briefcase and the pistol. Llewellyn doesn't say anything, only alluding to getting the gun the usual way, at the getting point. He then threatens to take her from behind if she doesn't stop being too inquisitive. She calms herself while Llewellyn cools off with a drink. Later that night, Llewellyn prepares to go out and Carla is concerned.
If I don't come back, you tell Mother I love her,
he says, prompting Carla to remind him his mom is dead.
Well, then I'll tell her myself,
he replies, before stepping out with a jar of water. He returns to the man who begged for water in the early hours of the night, but finds him dead. In a moment, he sees a car pull up by his car, and men come out to search it. Knowing he's in trouble, he hides to avoid being seen, but moments later, the men drive closer. As he changes hiding points, they After a while, a bullet strikes him in the upper right side of his back, sending him to the ground, but he picks himself up and dives into the river. They unleash their dog, and the beast swims just behind Llewellyn, who uses one hand to stroke to safety. With the animal fast approaching at the shore, he quickly dries his gun, gets it ready, and just as the dog pounces on him, he shoots it, killing it on the spot. Anton is at a gas station on a lonely road. He's done buying, and at the desk, the old man only tries to be friendly.
I seen you was from Dallas.
What business is it of yours? Where I'm from, friendo?
The old man hadn't meant trouble and hopes this doesn't cause an issue. He says he's closing at the moment.
What time do you close?
Now, we close now.
Now is not a time. What time do you close?
Generally around dark, at dark.
Anton presses the old man about when he goes to bed, and after some reluctance, the man gives an answer. He notes he could return at that time, which puzzles the man since the station would already be closed. He then pushes further, asking about the house beside the station, which the man admits once belonged to his father-in-law. Anton emphasizes that the man married into the property, while the old man tries to shift the focus by explaining how they once lived elsewhere before moving there 4 years earlier. Anton repeats his point, making clear he is not softening anything but simply stating the truth as he sees it. He tosses a coin and makes the man call it. But he hesitates, unsure of the stakes. Anton tells him he has been wagering his whole life without knowing it. The coin, dated 1958, has traveled 22 years to this moment. The man calls heads, and when it lands, Anton acknowledges the choice. As the man who has now been given the coin tries to pocket it, Anton stops him, warning that mixing it with other coins would strip it of its meaning, though in the end he admits it is just a coin. Llewellyn is back, but there's fire on the mountain. He knows the car at the crime scene will be traced back to him by the authorities, so he asks Carla to go to Odessa to meet her mother. She begins some rounds of questioning even after he explains, but he just wants her to get her things and go to avoid being drawn into the mess.
Baby, things happen. I can't take him back,
are his words while he cleans up his wounds. Two men arrive at the scene with Anton, and they show him around. Anton removes the inspection plate from Llewellyn's car, then proceeds to pick up a tracker from one of the bodies. He plays nice with the men until he shoots one in the chest and the other in the head. After Sheriff Roscoe puts the horse in its carriage and hooks it to his car, he rides out to the outskirts with his colleague Wendell. They stop at the spot of a burning vehicle. Roscoe explains that a man first killed a cop and took his car, then killed another man and stole his car too, leaving the police car behind. Now that second vehicle is the one burning in front of them. They hop on the horses and continue their journey deeper into the scene, then arrive at where Llewellyn's ride is parked. While it's obvious the inspection plate has been removed, the sheriff mutters,
I know this truck. Belongs to a fella named Moss.
Wendell knows him too, but the sheriff doesn't think Llewellyn could be involved in dope transactions. They go through the scene and conclude it must have been a deal gone wrong that turned into a chaotic shooting, leaving everyone dead. Two of the bodies, however, look different from the rest, and the cops believe they were killed in a separate incident. Anton arrives at a doorway. He knocks, but no one answers, so he uses his weapon to shoot the doorknob and gain access into the house. He picks up letters from the floor and reads them, and while he goes through the building, he finds nothing tangible, just a rough bed and some food in the fridge. He then picks up a jar of milk and then gets comfy on the sofa. Anton heads to the office, where he asks a woman about Llewellyn Moss. She replies that he must have gone to work, which is why he isn't in his trailer.
Where does he work?
Keeps sounding as Anton tries to keep his cool, but the woman refuses to give out such information, insisting on the rules of residency. With a stern look, she repeats yet again,
Did you not hear me? We can't give out no information.
After a silent stare between them, Anton turns and walks out the door. Llewellyn puts Carla on a bus to send her to her mother's place while he stays back to sort out his issues. She doesn't feel good about his plans, but he assures her that all will be well and that he'll come back to her, smiling as he tells her she's retired now and no longer has to work at Walmart. They bid farewell, and Llewellyn alights from the bus. The sheriff and Wendell arrive at Llewellyn's house, and even though they notice the broken doorknob, they still gain access. The milk bottle is still sweating on its sides, and with this, the cops know someone was there just a while ago. They must handle it with care, with Roscoe shutting down the idea of putting out a distress call as he sips a glass of milk. Llewellyn finds a hotel, and the first thing he does is put a call through to Roberto, but he doesn't answer. He then opens up the vent, takes out a few bucks from the bulk, and stashes the briefcase deep inside. Anton still holds the paper from Llewellyn's house. At a phone booth, he calls a number.
Is Llewellyn there?
No, he ain't.
You expect him?
Now, why would I expect him?
The lady on the other end asks who's calling, but Anton says nothing and drops the call immediately. Llewellyn finishes buying and changing his boots and is now in a taxi. As he arrives at the motel, he notices something strange and tells the driver to circle the compound without stopping so he can look around. The driver is hesitant but does it, and after a while, Llewellyn hands him some cash and asks to be taken to another motel. Wendell returns to the sheriff with news that no bullet was retrieved from the scene of the dead body by the road. Roscoe is surprised, since there was an entry wound at the head but no exit wound at the back. The only explanation is that the shooter fired into the head and then dug around with a pocket knife.
I sure don't want to picture that.
Wendell mutters with a sore face. With Rangers and the DEA set to check it out, and no more bodies for now, Roscoe decides to pass up, going over to the scene. Llewellyn gets a gun and some tent supplies from a local vendor, and the first thing he does is reconstruct the gun to his liking, cutting off part of the barrel and duct taping the handle. He then goes back to the motel, requests an additional room along with the map of the rooms, and takes a different room from his previous one. When he enters, he begins taking out the gun and tent supplies from a bag. Anton continues driving around, looking out the window when the tracker beeps. As he approaches the motel, the beeping intensifies, prompting him to pull in. Meanwhile, Llewellyn works tirelessly to set up a defense, taping poles together. Anton finds the exact room where the tracker signal is strongest, but first heads to the reception to get the facility's map. He enters his room and begins searching, while Llewellyn finishes setting up his defense. After a while, Anton settles in, taking out his weapon, the gas cylinder, and a barrel gun. Llewellyn, meanwhile, gets access to the vent and comes face to face with the case of cash. Late into the night, Anton gathers his weapons and enters a room. He spots a man on the bed, and when the man reaches for something, Anton shoots off his hand before putting a bullet in his stomach. He fires into the bathroom door, and a man bursts out shooting, but Anton is faster and takes him down. Another man remains in the bathroom, and Anton has just one question.
How'd you find that?
The man mutters something, but Anton drags the curtain over him and shoots him. He searches the room thoroughly, but still doesn't find what he's looking for. At the vent, he finds it empty, though clearly tampered with. All the while, Llewellyn has managed to lift the case and is already on the road.
Shouldn't be doing that. Even a young man like you. Dangerous.
Are the driver's last words to Llewellyn, referring to him hitchhiking. Carson struts into the office, and the man across the table asks what he knows about Anton. Carson knows him personally and remembers their last meeting clearly.
Got a loose cannon here.
The man says, pressing for more details, pointing out Anton's string of gruesome killings in recent weeks. Carson, amusing as always, says the man already knows, and calling this meeting proves it. There's money involved if he cooperates. Llewellyn checks into another hotel with his bags and weapons. At the reception desk, he slips the man a dollar bill and asks him to report if anyone comes by to lodge, since someone who's not law enforcement is after him. He tries to sleep but can't, and wonders how Anton keeps finding him. Searching the case for anything besides cash, he discovers the hidden transponder. Moments later, he hears the sound of the tracker drawing closer. He prepares for an invasion, shutting off the light and aiming his gun at the door. A shadow moves outside, then disappears as the lobby light cuts out. Anton blows the doorknob off, hitting Llewellyn, but Llewellyn fires back and escapes through the window, dodging Anton's shot by a whisker. He runs through reception, finding it in disarray, then slips through the back into the yard, barely avoiding another shot. Wounded, Llewellyn spots a passing car, stops it, and gets in the passenger side.
Don't worry, I ain't gonna hurt you. Need you to drive me on out of here.
But before the words are finished, a bullet tears through the driver's neck and more rounds slam into the car. Llewellyn ducks and drives it out of Anton's reach under fire, only to crash into another vehicle just moments later. He climbs out and takes cover opposite the wreck, leaving the case of money behind. Anton approaches, but quickly senses the trap and dives as Llewellyn opens fire. Llewellyn presses the attack, then retrieves Anton's weapon and follows a trail of blood into the dark. He retreats when the trail vanishes and drives toward the U.S. border. He ditches the car and continues on foot, meeting a group of friends. Then he buys a jacket, takes a bottle of beer, and tosses the case of money over the fence. He bandages his bleeding wounds and crosses the border, waving the beer at the officer on duty. By morning, he wakes on the roadside to the sound of a music group. Handing them $1, he asks for medical help. Meanwhile, Anton cuts a shirt and steps out of his car near a medical store. He soaks the cloth in fuel from another car's tank, sets it on fire, and walks inside. The car explodes seconds later, sending people scattering. In the chaos, Anton quickly grabs the supplies he needs and leaves. With his leg bleeding heavily, he tears his trousers with scissors, washes the wound, and treats it with a solution. He injects the leg and does everything he can to stabilize himself. At the station, the sheriff checks in on the status of the vehicles tied to the case. Nothing new has surfaced. Each one is registered to deceased people, including one man who died 2 decades ago. The DEA wants the sheriff to visit the crime scene, but he declines again. Instead, he decides to head to Odessa to see Carla, telling his deputy to inform Loretta only after he's gone, so she won't stop him from making the trip. Llewellyn wakes to Carson's voice. Carson holds a flower and makes it clear he isn't the one after him, though he knows Anton well. Their talk shifts briefly to Llewellyn's past as a welder and a veteran of Vietnam, something Carson shares with him before he steers back to the point. He wants Llewellyn to surrender the money. Llewellyn brushes it off, claiming he has already spent it. Carson warns him that Anton may be on his way to Odessa, which would put Carla in danger. Llewellyn tries to stay defiant, but Carson explains that Anton has no fear, no humor, and no flexibility. He insists that Llewellyn was simply in the wrong place at the wrong time, while Anton has lived this life for years. Before leaving, he tells Llewellyn where he's staying in case he changes his mind, even offering him a cut of the money. Llewellyn thinks he'd rather make a deal with Anton, but Carson tells him plainly that Anton never makes deals and will kill him regardless, even if he hands over the money. Meanwhile, the sheriff meets with Carla to explain the danger her husband is in. He warns that the people after Llewellyn will not quit. Carla insists her husband won't quit either, but the sheriff knows the situation is dire. Before leaving, he shares a strange story that leaves her unsettled, then hands her his card, urging her to call if Llewellyn makes contact, promising he will try to keep him safe. Carson goes to the border, and after carefully looking around, he finds the case over the fence, but he leaves it and walks away. Back at the hotel, as he climbs up the stairs, Anton follows closely, points a gun at him, and has him lead him to his room. Carson wants a safer way out, opting to withdraw the $14,000 in his bank account and hand it over to him, but Anton isn't there for that. Carson says he knows where the case is and reveals it, but Anton wants a little bit more.
It will be brought to me and placed at my feet.
You go to hell.
Carson calmly says, not ready to give in to Anton's request. Anton mocks him a bit, teasing how whatever he believes in has gotten him to a place of surrender.
Do you have any idea how crazy you are?
Anton doesn't have an issue with being crazy, and just after Carson tells him he could have all the money if he wants, the telephone rings loudly. Anton shoots Carson and then picks up the call. It's Llewellyn on the line, and Anton tells him he knows where he is but would rather go pay a visit to the lady in his life. There's an option, though.
You bring me the money and I'll let her go. Otherwise, she's accountable, the same as you.
Anton tells him that's the best he'll ever get from this matter.
Decided to make you a special project of mine.
Is Llewellyn's final words to Anton. Then he promises to find him first before dropping the call furiously. Wendell is back with news for the sheriff, who receives it with calmness, but there's a lot bothering his mind. The constant crimes being committed around, the kind he's reading about in the papers. Llewellyn manages to get through the border without proper clothes on after mentioning how he served in Nam. He gets some and goes to retrieve the case, then finds a phone booth and puts a call through to Carla, telling her where to meet him so he can put her on a plane with the money, so Anton has no leverage to hold him with. Anton visits the man who sent Carson, the one who set up the whole thing where everyone lost their lives and lost the money. The man tries to escape, but Anton quickly shoots him, leaving him for dead. Carla and the mother heed Llewellyn's call and head to the bus station bound for El Paso. There, while Carla talks to the sheriff on the phone with the hopes of giving out Llewellyn's location so he could get help, one guy in a suit approaches the old woman to squeeze information from her, pretending to be a nice guy. With Anton oblivious of where Llewellyn might be headed, he stops a local, and when he picks his brains, he finds out that the closest airport is in El Paso, so he takes the man's car with him. The sheriff approaches the motel where Llewellyn is lodged waiting for his wife, and hears gunshots, with robbers carting away in their truck. He drives inside the motel and finds dead bodies on the ground, including that of Llewellyn. That evening, Carla and the mother reach the destination, but meet the bad news, and Carla can't hold back her tears. The sheriff and a man talk about the ills of society and how decayed the world has been, even with kids. The man sympathizes with the sheriff over Llewellyn's death, then they part ways. The sheriff comes back at night to the crime scene and notices the doorknob has been broken, done Anton style. He grabs his gun and proceeds inside the room, carefully avoiding stepping on the blood on the floor. Anton hides in a dark corner, and while the sheriff walks the room, Anton is invisible to him. The officer finds screws in a coin, possibly used in loosening it. He drives to go meet Ellis, who tells him that he's received letters from Loretta about the sheriff's plan to hang his law enforcement boots. He tells her the man who shot him has been killed in a prison in Angola. He thinks he wouldn't have gone after the man even if he was released, as it would have been really time-wasting. The sheriff inquires about a certain story, and after Ellis gives it, he rounds it off by telling her the plain truth.
You can't stop what's coming.
Carla is standing over the grave of the mother at the instance of the old woman's death. She's home to dreaded Anton waiting for her in the room. Reckons she knows he'd be coming for her, but she has no money, neither her personal money nor the one he's looking for, backing it up with claims that she hasn't even been able to pay for her mother's burial.
I wouldn't worry about it.
Anton replies,
You got no cause to hurt me.
No, but I gave my word.
Anton says he gave his word to Llewellyn after giving him the option to save her by surrendering the money.
Instead, he used you to try to save himself.
But she doesn't think that's what played out. Trusting her husband would place her above all. She tries to appeal to Anton's emotions and reasoning, but he's way past giving into that. The best he can do is toss the coin, and after he does, he asks Carla to call it.
I ain't gonna call it. The coin don't have no say.
He's out of the house in a jiffy, and as he drives off, his car gets hit by another. While the other driver stays put, he steps out badly wounded. Two teenagers try to render help, and he buys the shirt of one and uses it to hold his broken arm, also hoping they shut their mouths if asked about him before he walks away. The sheriff is reunited with Loretta and shares two dreams, one short, the other quite long, with deep meaning. It's a wrap for this one.